We saw the share price of Virgin Galactic go into orbit at the end of last week as it got FAA approval. But given we've traded back up near the highs from early February, are we about to see it run out of steam and the share price come back down to earth? I thought it'd be interesting to do an update on Virgin Galactic. Massive volatility. I mean, just this year, we've seen the price trade as low in May as below $14. And of course, back in early Feb, it was above $60. It's interesting, in the last couple of days, we've seen it push back up near 60 and reverse. So I thought, let's take a look at this in a bit more detail, look at the recent news, take a look at the charts and see what might be happening next. So as usual, I'll talk a bit about the recent news and the levels to watch. Then we'll come back onto this and look at the technicals and the chart in a bit more detail. Hello, I'm David Jones from Capital.com, and I thought we'd do an update on Virgin Galactic this time around because we did see, at the end of last week, a pretty explosive move for the stock. So I thought, well, let's talk about that and then jump back onto the platform, look at things in more detail and see what the charts might be telling us. As usual, if you're watching this and you haven't subscribed, if you could, click on subscribe. It does help support the channel, and it means we can continue pushing out 3 different videos every week on the various stocks that we look at. Right, let's get into it and take a look at Virgin Galactic in a bit more detail. So just in case you don't know what Virgin Galactic do, they are a spaceflight company founded back in 2004. So quite some time now, by Richard Branson, of course, the head of many other Virgin businesses. And it's founded to develop commercial spaceflight. You could buy shares in Virgin Galactic only from 2019. That's when they came to the market. And since then, we've seen a massive amount of volatility for the stock price, ranging from as low as $7 a share to as high as $60 a share, which is roughly where we're near to now, which makes it, I think, an interesting update. But more of that when we look at the charts. So recently, we've seen some big moves for the stock. Back in May, we saw the stock soar following a successful test flight. But then again, more recently, last week, a big jump in the stock on the news that the Federal Aviation Authority in the US, the FAA, had given the company approval to carry passengers into space. If you're a space company, clearly this is something of a big deal. Of course, the stock is moving on its potential. If we looked at the financials, that the last quarterly earnings showed a loss of around $56 million. So from a financial point of view, that's not why investors are buying it, that they're buying it. It's a bet on the future, the potential, and how successful it might be. And it's another very popular stock with retail traders. We've seen lots of stocks move this year because of their popularity on social media forums like Reddit's Wall Street Bets. Virgin Galactic is another popular one there. So that's another reason why we can see some quite big swings. But let's talk about the levels to watch, then we'll jump back and have a look at the charts. So on that FAA approval, the stock traded up to $57.50, which is only about $5 below that all-time high, around $62.70. So it is interesting up here because we're up to territory where historically in the history we have seen the sellers come back in and the stock turn lower. On the downside, lots of support levels left, given the volatility. The first of these just below $46 a share. But as usual, to put some color on these numbers, let's take a look on the platform, take a look at the charts in a bit more detail. As I often say with some of these incredibly volatile stocks, they can be hard when it comes to looking at trends, short-term moves, or that sort of thing, because the moves tend to be so explosive. From May, the low in May of below $14, we've seen the stock price quadruple in about 6 weeks' time. So we've seen a massive move. But I thought, well, let's try and look calmly at some of the technical details and see if we can figure out where it may go next. So I started off with a 20-day moving average. These can do a good job in trending markets, and it's done a pretty good job for Virgin Galactic this year. With moving averages, we get a buy signal. When the price moves above the moving average, we had that back in January of this year on the move through sort of $24, $25, that sort of area. Then, of course, the price fell back below it. Third week of February, falling below 48, crossing the moving average to the downside. That's a sell signal. This moving average did a pretty good job all the way down of keeping that price really under pressure. And then we had the move above, 20th of May this year. The move through $20 was a buy signal off the moving average. And again, on the way up, it's done a pretty good job acting as sort of floating support or a floating trend line. At the time of recording, the price is still well above that moving average. That the price is around $53. The moving average is down around $39. So it would take that size of a fall at the moment, a 20% plus fall from where we are now, to signal a sell for the moving average. So I don't think we're getting too much from the moving average at the moment. Not surprising, it's below the price given the size of the moves that we've seen. If we look at traditional overbought, oversold indicator like the RSI, as I often say when we look at markets and stocks, the RSI can move to an extreme very quickly if we get an extreme market move, and it can often be too early. This was definitely the case with the RSI on Virgin Galactic. Went overbought May the 24th when the price was about, $27, $28. And it's pretty much stayed overbought since then. So the price has doubled, and the RSI all the way through has been saying, well, actually, the price has gone far enough. So that does, I think, illustrate the risks of using the RSI in these strong, explosive moves. So what do we have to go on? Well, looking, if we go back in time and go back to March of 2020, you can see we've got a sideways trend, broadly speaking, with some punctuated by some massive moves along the way. I think one thing that would make chart analysts perhaps a bit nervous is the fact that we have pushed up pretty near to where the stock ran out of steam last time round. You know, we get peaks and troughs in markets because sentiment changes, the market gets to a high and then sentiment switches from bullish to bearish. We see the sellers come back in, taking profits and push the stock back down. So I think that would be one concern that technical analysts had at these levels. Last time round, we can see $60 to $62.70 was the absolute high. We saw sentiment change and the shares fell. And just yesterday, the stock did push as high as just shy of $61 a share. So that would make some people perhaps a little bit nervous that we're back up where sentiment changed. Of course, if we go breaking out through those old highs, a breakout is another sort of signal and can suggest a new trend is forming. We don't have that yet. We'll come back to it in the next few weeks and see if we do. But some people may be getting a little bit nervous up here. There's also the fact that that's a big piece of news that's come out, that FAA approval. The stock has surged on the news. What's going to make it surge next? So again, I think amongst the more short-term traders, some may take the view, well, perhaps we've had the move for now. Let's see how it pans out over the next few weeks. And just one final look at the shorter term trend on the hourly chart off the May lows. There's our trend line. You can see the surge as the FAA news broke last week. We got good support at 40. So before all of this happened, we saw the trend line at the moment is coming in at 40. So 38 to 40 was an important zone, I think, on the way up from the second week of June to just last week before the announcement. If the stock did come under pressure from where we are now, be interesting to see if we see some buyers coming back in ahead of 40 and taking the view that perhaps they missed out last time round and they want to buy again. So I think looking at the daily chart, still looking at perhaps a little bit overheated for some near these previous all-time highs. If we get a breakout through those highs, it starts to look interesting again. And if we get weakness on this short-term chart, let's see what happens if it edges down towards $40 a stock. That's it for the update in Virgin Galactic. We will come back to it and see how things progress. Do we see more selling coming back in up here? Are we going to see a breakout? We'll take a look at it again in a few weeks. But for now, from me, David Jones and Capital.com, we'll leave things there. Good luck with your investing. For more trading videos just like this, please subscribe to our channel.